This video will cover part 1 of the 3-part video series, Introduction to Climate Change. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, climate change refers to a change in the state of the climate that can be identified, attributed directly or indirectly to human activity, and that persists for an extended period, typically decades or longer. Agriculture is both affected by and contributes to climate change. This is due to land use decisions resulting from population growth, which increase the demand for more and better quality food. To respond to these demands, farmers look for ways to improve productivity by producing more food on less land. Improper agricultural practices also have a negative effect on the climate, encouraging deforestation, soil erosion, and increased risk of pest and disease infestations. Let's review these contributing effects more closely. Number 1. The amount of arable land available for farming has expanded, fueled by a growing population and the need to feed more people. Land used for agricultural production activities currently make up about 40 to 50% of the Earth's land surface. Number 2. Rising demand for more food of better quality and variety is encouraging farming systems to increase efficiencies by producing larger amounts of crops and livestock. Much of these production increases take place in emerging economies and by smallholder farmers. Did you know that over 80% of farmland in developing countries is managed by smallholders? According to the FAO, the vast majority of these are found in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, 2 tropical regions where changes in climate are accelerating. Number 3. Increased soil erosion and reduced soil organic matter, the result of inappropriate farming methods, has exacerbated the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And deforestation, from clearing forests for additional production, contributes to the rise in carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, the greenhouse gas effect. For example, in some countries, forests are being removed by fire, increasing the amount of carbon dioxide emitted. How is production affected by changes in the climate? Factors impacting production and productivity are many, including low or high temperatures, flooding, and other extreme weather events. Crop health, which include pest and disease management, cultural practices, water management, and plant nutrition, livestock production, including fisheries and aquaculture, can also be influenced by variations in temperature and rainfall patterns. Global surface temperature is the simplest and most practical indicator for measuring and tracking climate change. These have risen steadily over the past 2 centuries. Projected increases in global temperatures intensify the frequency and severity of extreme weather events. Temperature fluctuations include heat waves, which expand the optimal range for many crops. These climate changes are especially evident in tropical regions, in many of the areas where Fintrac works. Let's highlight how productive activity is affected by rising temperatures. A rise in surface temperature of the Earth increases the likelihood of flooding conditions, which adversely affects root development and nutrient absorption due to heavier rainfall and stronger tropical disturbances such as hurricanes or cyclones. Prolonged periods of drought, reducing crop production and yields. Rising disease vulnerability for humans, animals, and plants, requiring more resources to be spent for an expanded and improved health systems for vector control and treatment. Life cycles of insects and diseases change, and bacteria and fungi are more aggressive under hot and wet conditions. Wind damage caused by extreme weather events, such as hurricanes or cyclones, are also increasing. Extreme weather events will vary among regions, increased warming and level of precipitation, and even among microclimates close to each other within a specific geographic region. This introduction briefly discusses how climate change affects smallholders disproportionately, since many rely solely on agricultural production, crops and livestock, for their livelihood. Agriculture is especially vulnerable to climate variability. The video series will focus on how Fintrac farmers can counter the negative effects of climate change. Adaptation and mitigation are complementary strategies for reducing and managing the risks of climate change, according to the IPCC. Mitigation strategies, which will focus on avoiding, reducing, and sequestering emissions, commonly known as greenhouse gases, will be discussed in more detail in Part 2 of this series. Adaptation is accomplished by reducing risks from extreme weather events and changes to the climate through the adoption of good agricultural practices, GAPS. Part 3 of this series elaborates further. Now, go on to Part 2 for information on mitigation strategies.